You explain yourself to people who never asked. Right now, today, there is a text sitting in your drafts with 3 extra sentences nobody requested. Seneca saw this in Rome 2,000 years ago, and he called it exactly what it is, a confession. Not an explanation, a confession that some part of you doesn't believe you're allowed to just decide things. Here's what nobody tells you at the start of that habit. It isn't politeness. It isn't consideration. It's a small, repeated surrender of your own authority over your own life. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius about a particular kind of man, one who could not simply arrive late, or decline an invitation, or change his mind, without immediately surrounding the act with justification. He wasn't describing rudeness. He was describing a man who had quietly handed the keys to his own choices over to an audience that hadn't even asked for them. And Seneca's diagnosis was brutal. You only defend what you secretly believe is indefensible. Sit with that for a second, because it applies to you more than you want to admit. The friend you texted "sorry so late" replying, "work has been insane, I've just been slammed," when they never once implied you owed them speed. The coworker you told, "I'm leaving early today because I have a dentist thing, not that I'm slacking off," when nobody accused you of slacking. You are pre-defending a verdict that was never being written. You are the prosecutor, the defense, and the jury, all volunteering for a trial that only exists in your head. Now here's the part that should actually unsettle you. Psychologists have a name for the mechanism underneath this, and it isn't shyness, and it isn't kindness. It's called approval-seeking under imagined threat. Your nervous system treating a neutral silence, a raised eyebrow, a 2-word reply, as if it were an actual verdict of your worth. Your body cannot tell the difference between "they might think less of me" and "I am in danger." So it reacts the same way it would to a real threat. It overproduces. It overexplains. It floods the room with evidence before anyone has even asked a question. That's the pattern. Now let's talk about why it doesn't work, because this is where most people get the fix backwards. You think over-explaining buys you safety. It does the opposite. Every unrequested justification is a signal to the other person and to yourself that you needed permission you didn't have to ask for. Seneca's whole ethic rested on one brutal distinction. Some things are within your power, and some things are not. Other people's opinions of you were never, not once, within your power. Which means every sentence you spend managing them is a sentence stolen from the only thing you actually control: your own judgment, your own conduct, your own next move. There is an older current of thought, one that never needed a Roman senator to arrive at the same conclusion, which holds that a person's intellect, not their reputation, not the crowd's opinion, is the true seat of the self. Under that view, the moment you outsource your self-assessment to someone else's face, you've abandoned the very thing that made you a person capable of judging anything at all. You've traded your own court for theirs, and theirs is not even in session. But knowing that doesn't make the impulse disappear. In a moment, I'm going to give you the exact mechanical move that lets you catch the sentence before it leaves your mouth, because insight alone will not fix this. You need a physical habit to interrupt a physical reflex. First, though, you need to see how deep this actually runs, because it's not limited to texts and small talk. It's the meeting where you justify a decision no one is questioning. It's the purchase you explain to your partner before they've said a word. It's the career change you narrate to your parents in advance, building the defense before the jury has even been seated. Each of these is the same reflex wearing a different costume. You performing innocence for a court that was never convened. And here's the harsh part, the part Seneca didn't soften for Lucilius, and I won't soften for you. Every time you do this, you teach the people around you that your decisions come with paperwork. You train them to expect the explanation, which means the one time you don't give it, the one time you simply act, it will look, to them, like something's wrong. You built that expectation yourself, sentence by unnecessary sentence. So here's the practice. 3 steps, and you can start today, mid-conversation, mid-text, right now. Step 1. The pause before the because. Anytime you notice the word because arriving after a decision you've already made, not a request for information, a decision, stop. That word is the hinge. Everything after it is usually unrequested testimony. Step 2. The one-sentence rule. If an explanation is genuinely warranted, give it once, in one sentence, and then stop talking. The second and third sentences are never for the listener. They're for your own anxiety. Let the silence after sentence 1 sit there, uncomfortable as it is. That discomfort is the whole exercise. Step 3, and this is the one that actually rewires the reflex over time, nightly self-accounting. Before you sleep, ask yourself plainly, where did I explain myself today to someone who hadn't asked? Not to punish yourself, just to see the pattern in daylight instead of letting it run on autopilot in the dark. Do this for 3 weeks, and you will start catching the impulse in real time, mid-sentence, before the words even land. If this pattern is tangled up with real anxiety rather than habit alone, that's worth bringing to an actual professional. This practice is a philosophical tool, not a clinical one. Here's the truth underneath all of it. Confident people are not the ones with the best explanations. They're the ones who feel no need to produce one. Not because they don't care what happens, but because they've stopped needing a verdict from a courtroom that was never real. Break time equals for 50 ml / Seneca didn't tell Lucilius to stop caring what people thought. He told him to stop performing for people who never once asked him to perform. Stop building a defense for a trial no one called. Decide. State it once. Let the silence hold. If you caught yourself over-explaining even once while listening to this, subscribe. There's a whole current of this thinking waiting for you here, and it doesn't coddle. And in the comments, tell me the last time you caught yourself justifying a decision nobody questioned. I want to hear it.